Set me free to know me.
Hello, 20s fam. Welcome back to our podcast. I am Mai.
I'm Bao.
And yeah, we really missed you guys today. We're back with a brand new, season within our series. It's called Questions of Our 20s. And the first question is one that I think a lot of young people would resonate with. It's called Fake It Till You Make It.
What is your opinion about that, though? You want to start with that?
I mean, I think I'm pretty much doing it every day. A lot of us are kind of doing it every day as we speak right now. It's just, I think, part of a lot of the things that happens when we're young, because we don't have as much experience. We don't have as much things happening as when you get older. The more older you get, the more responsibilities, the more things that are happening. And so right now, honestly, I am faking in terms of sometimes I don't really know what I'm doing. I am just living it day by day. And there are a lot of things that I don't know, but you kind of just have to fill yourself with confidence and get through it sometimes, which I think is a part of life. It's you don't know everything. But slowly, when you go through the process, you're faking it a little bit, but also you're learning a little bit. So it compensates each other and helps you kind of grow. I mean, that's my general broader thoughts. But I think when we get into the questions and more speculations and these kind of things, I can unfold my thoughts a lot better. What are your thoughts on this?
I think it's kind of similar to you in general. I've been having some meetings with some startups in one of my jobs. And one of the guys actually this week mentioned something I feel like nobody knows what they're doing. And we just started laughing, and I was actually really nobody knows what they're doing, but we're all trying and figuring out what works and what doesn't. And I'm just talking now about the music industry in general. But you have to be trial and error in general to figure out what works for you in your industry or in any industry in general. I feel like it's very important just to see what works. There's no formula for everything unless it's math and physics and maybe chemistry. But aside of that, you have to build your own formula. In terms of marketing in my job, I have to figure out what works for me. If for every account, you have to see what works because different audiences, different stuff, right? So I feel like at some point we are all figuring out what works, and it can kind of looks like faking it till you make it, but it's just your learning path in life, and I think in any profession is the same. In coding is the same. You don't really know what you're doing unless it works. And then you're oh wait, what did I do? And how can I make it keep working? Right. So I think it's very related to that. So we're very excited about this series, Questions of Our 20s, because we're both in kind of a small different stage. And I don't want to make an age difference because I feel life and everything, the number is not really much it. But in this case, talking about numbers, I'm stepping into my late 20s and Mai's in her early 20s. So we have also different opinions, and we combine in a lot of things. So I think it's nice that you have this perspective. And of course, we want to know yours. So by the way, thank you for the comments on the last episode. That's super, super, super nice. And I'm glad that you were liking our episodes. So is it all about luck or hard work? What do you think, Mai? Do you believe in luck?
I actually do believe in a little bit of luck. My dad's always kind of groomed us in this way that he says luck is the outcome after all of your hard work. So only it happens, because I think everybody needs a little bit of hope in life. Even if it's small, it's big, but we need to believe in something. And the most important thing is believe in ourselves. But beyond just believing in ourselves, we got to do and take action for what we truly believe in, whether that's work, whether that's taking care of somebody, or when you love somebody, you actually show them that you love. It's a course of action that actually helps you get to where you want to be. And the luck is kind of just at the end of the day, a touch of to complete this whole thing and make it feel I've achieved it. But generally, it's really about you. When you start moving, things start moving for you. But if you don't and you're just staying in one place, I generally feel it won't happen, or maybe it will happen. Who knows? But it might happen slower. So I feel we are controllers of our destiny. But then, yeah, there's always like factors that are out of our control, like luck, like accidents, like, I don't know, things like that. And, the main thing is just to keep moving forward and keep working on what you want, what you believe in. And, like, I think one day you will get it with or without luck. Like, eventually our lives are meant to work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah, I think it's tied up to what you're saying to like fate. I think when things are meant to happen, they will happen no matter if you say no to something or yes. Like if it's your path, right? And I feel like I want to believe more in that. But in terms of luck, for me, it's just hard work. Like for me, if there's luck or if I was born or if I was not born in a wealthy family, like financially, that is not luck. That is because there is a person behind that who did a really hard work to achieve that. And, I don't think that's like out of nothing. Someone did a big effort and someone earned that. And that's why you get to enjoy it. Like in case someone's like born in a wealthy family and otherwise not. For me, I was raised in a way that if I wanted something or if I wanted to study somewhere, if I wanted to move out of my country, I had to earn it. And I believe more in that work culture that if you want to have something, then you work hard for it. And that's like very, very like a nice feeling, like I worked for this and I got it and like it's my merit. So I love having my own merit. I'm not saying that if people put different efforts, they don't deserve it. No, but I like to feel that I deserve it because I work for it, right? So I think it's related to your own values as well. And yeah, I think it's usually hard work. Like the amount of effort you put to something is directly proportional to the result for me. And I think that's like actually how it works. So talking about like Spain and the work culture and like the cultural shocks that we had in these 2 years that we've been living here. Is conformity a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it depends on what we're talking about and also where we're at, like society wise and progress wise with a lot of these things. Like let's say like I come from Asia, right? Vietnam, and we're a culture that we're not necessarily too individualistic. We are, we are independent humans and each of us have our own thoughts and behaviors and like opinions and these kind of things. But we like to come together as a team and we believe like one tree alone can't make a big world. Like there's this saying in Vietnamese and it's like many trees together we can build like a forest. But if it's just one tree, like you can't do anything. And conformity in certain sense means like you're working together to achieve a shared goal. Or, in our culture, we value a lot of like family. We value teamwork. We value like doing things for the good of others. So like thinking and being beyond yourself. Because like right now, like, I mean, it's true. Like, we are individual human beings and at the end of the day, we're living our own lives, which I see it's very good, but it also sometimes takes away just like a bit of like, empathy for others or just like some feelings that sometimes you can't describe. Like, why would I do something for this person? Because I'm me and why do they are not me? But I don't know. I feel like in certain sense, there's something that comes to play like, oh, that's another human being and they need me in this time. For me, I always believe in like full circle moments. When I help somebody, that person helps another person, la, 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 la. And maybe eventually if I'm not the one who, I guess, reaps the benefits of my actions, my kids will, my grandkids will, like, or some other people will. So I feel like conformity, it's a bit hard because nowadays we think it's so bad, at work we're like, oh my gosh, I have to conform to the laws of this. But I think depends on this context of society, how you're raised and what you believed is the shared outcome. Conformity can be a good thing, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the biggest shocks, and we always talk about this when we came to Spain, was like the fallas. If you don't know what's fallas in Valencia, I invite you to Google it because I don't want to like spend too much on that, but it's cool. But in general, for me and my culture, and I think for the US, for you, it's same. And in Mexico, like if there's a festivity and you can make a lot of more money in your business. Like imagine if I have my taco place, right? And it's a holiday. So everyone will come to my taco place that day because everyone's just free. Like everyone has free time, right? So I don't close my business because people will come and I'll make my year that weekend, right? Let's say it like that. In Fallas, like there's like these events during the day. And when I was like around, I was like, oh, let me grab a drink in this bar. For sure it's going to be open because it's a festivity, right? No, people close their bars and go and enjoy the actual festivity. And that was like really shocking for me because in the culture that I come from, work is kind of life. Like literally like work is life. And of course, the facilities and like the things that you have around in Spain, it's very different. Some things are more accessible compared to Mexico, maybe the US as well. But it's super nice and super shocking to be that you don't really have to do those things here to have like the quality of life that I was aiming to have also in Mexico, right? So like I think conformity, as you were saying, it's different. For me, conformity is like if I'm getting too comfortable in my job and I feel like I am earning enough or I am like doing enough and I don't want to put like my extra effort or my extra to like get a better result because what I'm doing is already fine, then for me that is conformity. But when it comes to like a life balance, I think it's super important to learn from this culture to have a better like life quality and how can I have that without pushing myself to a limit and then getting into a burnout point. So I think, yeah, it's kind of tricky, the conformity side. I think it should be in terms of your own goals. So I think it's good if you're working and you have a nice position to always look for growth. And if, for me, growth is like a good goal to have for like 6 months or 1 year. And like, if I'm comfortable in one position, then what can I do? If there's not any more point of growth in the company, then I will probably be thinking of like having my own stuff or like just looking for a different company, right? Because for me, it's important to like challenge myself. And if I'm already too comfortable in a job, then there's nothing that gets me that excited or feels like there's something new because I'm just used to it. So for me, conformity is more related to that. You know, we always have the balance of like personal life and professional. And I think it's good to have both analogies. So yeah, I think it's not always a bad thing. You just have to be very conscious, right? Like, okay, so our next question, I have my notes. And again, the purple notebook. How can I be generous when I'm not rich?
Yeah, I mean, for me, generosity comes in a lot of different ways. But for me, when someone is generous with their, like, I don't know, their kindness with me, their time, their advice, it's more impactful for me than, say, if someone is generous with money. You know, like someone could give you a block of money or someone could sit you down and they give you 1 hour of their time. And for me, the difference is in what I do with this generosity. And it also shows a lot as a human being, like what kind of person they are. Because, I mean, depends. Like some people need money. And in that case, that money will help them a lot. But for example, for me right now, like if somebody would just sit down with me and like have a coffee, have a drink with me and tell me about certain things to help me grow, I think I would appreciate that more. And I'm talking from the perspective of people who are in their early 20s and we don't really know what the hell is going on or we don't know which direction. And obviously we want to make money, but honestly, that's not really my top of line thought. My top of line thought is just at this point, how do I be happy with what I'm doing and like float around for a bit and be lost for a bit? Because for a longest time, I was so like, I think I'm also going through a moment where I'm changing a lot in terms of how I think and my perspective on life, that life isn't about work and that if this work doesn't make me happy, and then, well, I think it's time for me to find something that truly makes me happy. And actually, like recently I had a really like, how do I say it, mind-opening conversation with a very random stranger I met at the beach. And this guy doesn't work. He doesn't work. And it's not like he's rich or anything. He just doesn't work because his work is he volunteers. Like that is his whole being. Like so he'll volunteer for 3 or 4 months at like a dog shelter. And after that, he runs out of money. So he works for a little bit and then he comes back to the same dog shelter. And his whole thing when I was talking to him was like, I don't really like, for me, this is enough. Like being with the animals and, you know, putting my time into this, for me, that's meaningful. And I feel like it's a very like something that I hadn't thought about in a long time because we're always like, okay, you need to get this job and then you need to move up and then you need to make money, la 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 la. But then I'm like, well, if that doesn't really make me happy, then I don't really want to do what society thinks is correct, is to get a job, get many jobs, create my own thing, build a whole thing, build whatever. If my happiness is like this guy, is to, I don't know, have time that he has nothing to do and he just relaxes on the grass. Like if that is happiness for somebody, that is totally okay. And if achieving total success monetarily, career-wise is for another person like happiness, that's good. So I'm kind of like going through a moment right now where I'm like, I don't really know what makes me happy truly, but it also stems from the thought that, okay, because I studied music business, I need to be doing business, I need to make money, nah. But okay, like I can help other artists make money, but then I don't, like if I don't need that, then it's okay, So
Yeah. I think lots of the times, like we study things, but we don't have to like focus on them if they don't make us happy. And I think in the age that you are right now, I had that literally like also 2 years ago, like when I was deciding just to come here and I was just questioning. And also when you're studying your undergrad, you sometimes fall into like this burnout where you're like, am I studying the right thing? And like probably you are, but you start just questioning everything. And I think it's good to like question the things that are worth keeping. And happiness has different meanings to everyone. Like for me, my work can build up that happiness, but it's not everything. Like it's all about your personal life as well. It's all about doing things that you enjoy and having time to make music or having time to play the piano or volunteering and all these things. It's the balance. Like I don't think a job position would bring you the happiness. I think if that's the only goal, then there's going to be an emptiness tied to it at some point, or a burnout and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's really interesting what you're saying. There's people who find happiness in other things, and that's completely fair. And like, we're no one to judge. And there's something we can always learn about other people in terms of that. We're really music industry focused, very like have similar stuff, but that doesn't mean that our paths are comparable, and in terms of the industry and society right now, people do question like, oh, is looking for a job, or is still like hasn't figured it out. It's like, no, actually she has it. You have it figured out. Like, it's a continuous search, and not because someone has a position or a certain level means that they're actually happy with it. Like the job title says nothing related to that. And I think what you're saying about generosity is like you invest time, you listen to people, you learn from other people, but you also let people learn from you. And like time in general and trust is a gift. And I think that's something very valuable. Of course, we don't have like thousands of money to give around people on the streets, but there's other things that we can figure it out. And I think, no, you don't have to be rich for sure to like be generous. So that's a really nice thing. I like that, Mai. Thanks for sharing that. So is everyone on social media rich, or we just don't know how to make money? I can take this one. Honestly, like in terms of like money, and I know that when, for example, us that we're living in Europe, for some friends I think might think that I'm rich. Like just because I'm living here and I stayed here and I studied at Berkeley, and honestly, like you're all wrong, bro. Like it's not like that. I feel like you decide where to invest and you decide like what you're gonna do. In my case, like, when you're in undergrad or you're with like, I always had a scholarship, and that's what actually made me like be able to study what I wanted, because I had to work for those scholarships. Like, for example, in music production, my uni was the only one who gave it. So my mom was like, well, if you really want to study there, you have to get a scholarship, because we cannot do that, right? So I was like, okay, I'll work these years and I'll manage. So that's what I did in general, no? And I think in social media, like not because someone is having a Euro trip, not because someone is buying a Chanel bag means they are actually rich, like maybe, but that might be their ultimate goal. So if they have a certain amount of money, they might spend it in whatever they want, and in the end, social media is kind of tricky because we all share our biggest moments, or like our career stuff, or like, let me do up my blog and say how amazing my day is. But, I think the most valuable things are the real things. And I want to see people, I cry sometimes in my close friends, you decide how private or public you want to have your life. But I want to see real people. I want to know if you're having a bad day. I want to know if you're struggling, if there was a layoff, because actually in LinkedIn, people are very real with layoff stuff. Like they don't mind talking about these things. Yeah, we want to have these real conversations, and with social media, it gets very tricky. Everyone decides what they want to share. But honestly, and I think we both know this deep down, the best moments in life don't happen when you have a phone in your hand, because that means you're not present. So I'm sorry, but like, that's it for me,
I mean, like, honestly, earlier I was agreeing with you a lot, because people also think like I'm rich, but I'm like, I am so poor. I'm so poor. I come from a middle class family, and it was through hard work that I got scholarships. It was through many hours of practice a day that I got into a certain school, and with that I got a scholarship to the States, and with that I got a scholarship to Spain. And it's all tying back to the first question you asked, like hard work, and then the result is the outcome of all your hard work. And then people are like, oh my gosh, you travel so much. That means you're rich. I work to travel. Yeah. And it's not easy to travel because you need to put your thought into actually making it happen. Like a lot of people will say, I want to travel, and then they don't actually do it because it actually takes time. It takes energy.
And work in advance.
Working in advance, it takes so much energy. So for me, it's kind of frustrating when a lot of people just judge you from the outside and they're like, oh, like her life is so great, like she's doing all these things. But work flies me. I work hard to pay for my trips. I work hard to eat the things I want to be doing things that I like. So for me, it's unfair for people to and it's fine, if they have a first judgment, but then go to confirm your judgment before actually, spreading things out. And I think that's also a very toxic thing about these days is that people just take their first, idea and then go spread it out on the web or with, the music industry and how fast news spreads. They just need one thing or one, glance or something like that. And you can make a whole story out of it, which I think it's not necessarily a good thing because there's always more than this. And if your confirmation is true, that's fine, but don't make a big deal out of it. Nothing is a big of a deal.
And it's not the same for everyone as well. Not because one person has that ability means everyone will have it, right? So
yeah, it's also I value a lot being rich in experience. I can sit at the end of the day in my little box without money, but I can tell you I have a lot of experience. Then that would be the success of my life. I can tell you all the places I visit, the people I met, the things I did. For me, that is more successful than sitting in a villa, but then you're alone and nobody really knows you. Nobody really cares about you. It's all about perspective on what being rich actually means, because nowadays it's not just money.
It's happiness too. It's love too.
People who are happiest are with the people they love and doing the things they love, or some of the richest people in the world are giving away their riches. And by doing that, they're I feel like they feel happier doing it, and
giving back for sure. Yeah. I feel in the social media is also very tricky because, now that the fashion week happened in New York and all this stuff, and you're like, oh, these influencers get or even the Victoria's Secret fashion show, all these things. There's they get everything for free, or they get it so easy. Bro, build a community of 1 million followers. Try doing that. It's not easy. For some people, it takes a lot of years. For some people, it takes about a moment. I don't know, but it's still work. To get to that point, you have to build a whole career. So I think we're very exposed to that, and we're exposed to the final result of an artist having millions of followers and having things, but their career probably took at least 10 years together. Think about Sabrina Carpenter. She has so many albums in 10 years that nobody knew about until this one. And she's still young. Why? Because she started young, but it was work, So I feel we have to be very conscious and think about the background, not really the result. So am I seeing the other side of people's Instagram photos? I don't think so. I think we already touched that. But in general, I feel we all decide how we're going to use our social media. I think for me, for example, Instagram is kind of a portfolio. Why? Because if you work on social media or if you're a singer, that's where you get exposed. LinkedIn is more a networking site, more a job search. TikTok is entertainment. So in the end, you choose what you're posting towards what you're doing, what makes you happy. And that's not your whole life. We all have another life outside the social media, and you can do efforts to keep it as transparent as you can, but it's still not truly the reality because not all your day is there. You know what I mean? Nobody's following you with a camera, making a documentary of you to keep it that real. It's not happening. I'm going to skip to the next one because I feel we talked a lot about this. Questioning, should I post this before posting something on social media? We have very different approaches in social media. And I was thinking about that when I wrote the question too, because, well, I'm making a lot of content. Obviously, we're promoting the podcast too when we do different things. But in your case, for example, what's your philosophy behind your postings on Instagram? Her posts don't appear to me on home. Like they appear on my other accounts, but not on my, because she does a thing for them not to appear around.
I don't really know. Like I don't post like normal people. I'm kind of abnormal in my use of Instagram, because for me it's like my photo reel, or what do you call it? Photo reel.
Like you mean like a Tumblr? Like you want to have like your own vibe?
Yeah, I'm creating my vibe, or it's more like like memories, you know, instead of like something to promote. But say if like for like similar to you, if I work on artist accounts, obviously I'm keeping there's an intention to why we're posting. There's, you know, we have the artist in mind, we have the audience in mind, and a lot of things in mind. But for my personal use, it functions fine as like place to put my dump all my photos, because I have no storage on my iPhone 11. And with other social media like Facebook, I used to use a lot, and I used to post more like my thoughts. Like there would be like every event that I had in high school or middle school, or everything that happened, or sometimes even just a random thought. I would use Facebook back in the days as like an outlet. And back then, the use of Facebook was like, I mean, like back then, like social media wasn't like a place for people to scrutinize each other. It was a real place of sharing to certain degrees. There are like haters, of course, but it was a genuine place of sharing. People would interact, people would comment, people would reshare these kind of things. Now, because there's so much of like, you know, there's just a lot of surveillance. There's a lot of layers to things that are happening. And obviously with more time, it's just gonna keep adding up. People are more cautious of what they're doing. They're getting censored. They're doing things. And then once in a while, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't give 2 cares anymore. And they will post whatever, and then they'll be banned. I mean, all these things. So I think the usage of social media, my personal use has changed over time. But also as a society, because we're just under more layers of surveillance. We're under more pressure, even if we don't want to say that, but it's very different now versus 10 years ago versus our parents' generation. And I'm sure like, you know, in 10, 20 years, the kids who are growing up like right now are going to have a different use for their social media.
Yeah, it keeps evolving for sure. I think it's a decision also, like the way you want to use your social media, you make that decision, and everyone makes that decision differently, you know. In my case, for example, Instagram is more like a portfolio. So if I'm working on social media, I have to post things related to, you know, content creation. I have to post things about artist tips, because it's my platform where I connect with people that might hire me, or like, you know, I might get some projects going on. In music, that's where I promote my music as well. And for me, some people have like their separate private account. For me, I am the same person, and I want to show like who I am as well. So I use my own account for everything: personal life, work, podcast. Because for me, like, I am just one person. I am not what I do. I am not my projects. I am not. So like, that's a decision that I make. I respect when people also have a private account and don't post anything, only to their friends, and the rest is just like selling stuff. That's completely fine. You make that decision in general, but I feel like you do what works for you. Like, of course, if I am in social media, I have to be in social media, like active, right? So like, if I'm giving tips to an artist, I have to reflect I have to practice what I preach, right? Literally. So yeah, it depends. You remind me a lot about those years where we would just post like the status thing on Facebook. And I used to use that a lot, and just like, you know, everyone would just engage like in silly and simple things, and you didn't have to put too much effort. Like this thing of also editing photos, and this thing of also like ourselves judging our own bodies to look into a certain, like, you know, in a certain way. That's also really unhealthy. And I feel like you have to be happy, and you don't have to think that much about posting something, because it's, in the first place, it has to be for you. Like if you have to like what you're posting to be able to post it, right? So like, if you like it, you do it. It doesn't matter. You were not golden coins to be loved by everyone, right? So like, if it's something that you like, then don't overthink it, right? I think that's the way to go about it. You have to feel comfortable. You have to take breaks. Sadly, I cannot take breaks from social media. Sometimes I want to, but it's work, right? So like, there's also this limit to things. But again, to get into a point where you're happy in general with what you're doing and with your efforts, and if you're faking it till you make it, you have to be first like plentiful on your own, right? So I think that's important. I think we're wrapping up this episode and we're excited to start with this series. We're also having upcoming guests and we're very excited about them. So stay tuned for that. And if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. If you're on Spotify, you can leave us a comment. You can like the episode. And of course, you're watching us there too. So we're really excited about that. And well, thank you and see you next week.
Thank you guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.